Hey guys, put some in N45 here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing an anime that I finished yesterday, which is Banana Fish. And I have already had the title in mind for this video, which is going to be that Banana Fish is the greatest yaoi bait of all time. Now, obviously, if you have watched Banana Fish, you know it is not a yaoi, but that is the much, I guess, meme aspect about it is the fact that it's kind of as close as you can probably get without it being an actual yaoi. Um, and that's because, um, AG and Ash have, probably one of the best friendships I've ever seen in anime, and I think that because that sort of dynamic is the core of the show. That's the first thing I'm going to talk about. Um, what I really liked about this dynamic and friendship between the two characters was how incredibly balanced it felt. Which I think is not an easy thing to achieve, considering the fact that Ash is a extremely layered character, and I will talk more on his character in a little bit. But um, I mean, I loved AG as a friend because, like, his character was all about expanding his worldview and sort of trying to enter into the world of something and someone completely different to his own world. And I thought that that concept was very unique. It worked very, very well. Um, and I think that AG really grew in a very satisfying way, and just served as this fantastic POV type character for Ash the entire time that he could consistently confide in every time. Um Now Ash himself was probably pretty easily my favorite character in the show. Although Max was a close second. I will talk about him also in this video. Um Ash is just I love characters that feel like they have to live up to an image or standard, and that is sort of the primary burden that they take on over the course of the story. And Ash is a brilliant representation of this kind of character trope that I adore. Um, and I think that there is just so much like emotional baggage that he has to him, like way more so than most MCs that I see. Like just all of the shit that he goes through, like he has to um get through the death of his brother, and then he has to get through killing Shorter, all the while like he has to bear this burden of like being a boss and being a gang leader and just trying to work his way through his own brutal world, like killing because that's the only solution that he seems to know how to. Um, and what's so great about Iggy is the fact that Iggy is like the guy that offers him a potential route out. Um, and while he does utilize some aspects of it, what I think makes Ash such an interesting and dynamic character is the fact that he did change. It's very noticeable in the little ways that he changed because of Avery and accepting the things that Avery introduced into his brutal world, which previously consisted of like 100% killing, and by the end of the series, it's only like maybe 90 to 95% brutal killing. Um, because like AG definitely had a noticeable effect, but what I loved about Ash's character in the fact that he was so dynamic of a character um is the fact that he was able to like his character was able to incorporate the changes that he received, but also still felt so true to the core of his original character, which made him so captivating in the first place. Um, and I just again I'm gonna talk about the balance thing because I really think that um the way that that is balanced in terms of these two characters when Ash is such a much more deeper and layered character compared to Evie, I think is just extremely impressive. Um, that wasn't even my favorite thing about the show, though, to be completely honest. Like, my favorite aspect of the show is the way that I got way more out of certain characters than I was ever expecting to. And the two examples I'm going to use for this are Sing and Yutlung. Sing especially so because, like, after the death of Shorter, um, he goes through many, like, conflicting senses of loyalty until he eventually gradually discovers what things that he values, and that ends up making him decide what kind of person he wants to follow. And I thought that that just worked extremely well. And honestly, Yurt Lung may be the best exploration of an inferiority complex I have ever seen in any anime before. Um, uh, as I always say, like the best, if not the best, one of the best. In case there's some example that I'm forgetting, because I've seen a lot of animes. Um, but I loved the way that his um inferiority complex um like I love the layering of the fact that it was actually an inferiority complex instead of just wanting to get revenge for his brothers when in fact he actually felt inferior to everyone, Ash most of all, and that's what made that dynamic so interesting between the two of them. Um uh and I mean, I could go on about more characters like that, but um, I think I think those two characters are probably the ones that I could voice my thoughts on the clearest with regards to this kind of praise that I'm giving to Banana Fish in this aspect. Um, Another thing I loved about it is that Golzine is one of the most spectacularly consistent anime villains I have ever seen. He was fantastic the entire way through. He is like easily one of the most consistent anime villains I have ever seen. Um, and it was extremely impressive because like the entire time um he is this constant threat because like his desire to want to literally fuck Ash and make him um like a prostitute and do all of his other dirty work and stuff, and also like this insanely like just cruel idea of wanting to make him his successor, like um, well, that entire desire of his, which him makes him a major threat, it remains that way the entirety of the show. Like there is this constant danger that Ash might get caught by him again and will need to be rescued, but before that he will be traumatized for the nth time by Golzin's consistent threat. And all the way up until he ends up uh killing himself, which was an absolutely awesome death scene, mind you. Um uh like he stayed so remarkably consistent to the things that made him a threatening villain. And I really think it was so impressive how consistent of a villain he managed to stay being. Um, Now, the other character that I want to mention is Max, because Max is easily my second favorite character. Um Due to the fact that I love his sort of older brother type relationship with Ash and how he takes on that role after Griffin disappears pretty early into the story. Um and and just his struggles with um I guess feeling like he actually belongs in a place like this, like he has the ability to rehabilitate and do things to actually help people, despite the fact that he wasn't able to save Griffin. Like him realizing that he does have a chance to help people and he is allowed to, which is a very powerful form of self-realization that just really worked for me. And like if Ash wasn't as wasn't such a good and layered character, then he would easily be my favorite just because I love that arc that he goes on of self-realization like that. The last thing I want to touch on is the ending, and this is kind of wrapping it around for Ash's character. Um, I absolutely loved the ending to this. It was so beautifully poetic for Ash's character in the way that he manages in the thing I was talking about earlier where he is so dynamic of a character to where he manages to maintain some of the dynamic element of um he like retains the good parts that Adrian introduced into him, but also he um you know in the end he died by I don't remember the character's name. The guy that killed him, who was like Shorter's best friend, never really got over it. That's another one of the side characters that I got a lot more out of than I was expecting. He was a great character. I just don't remember his name right now. It was like some Chinese name. Lao? Yeah, it was Lao. Lao. So after Lao kills Ash at the end, um, then he doesn't get revenge. He doesn't fight back at all because he was wanting to see Angie, so his guard was down. Um, but like he just goes to the library, his favorite spot, and he just passes away in blissful peace. And it is such a poetic ending for his character because of the way that it reflects how he feels at peace because of the fact that AJ was in his life, and yet it also reflects the majority of the way that he wasn't able to escape the world of killing because he was ultimately killed by another gang member after doing so much killing of other gang members and other people himself. Um, so I absolutely fucking love the ending, and I absolutely love this show. Um, the show is such a good and powerful, like, human drama that explores so many real issues. Um, and it takes place over the course of the incredibly captivating setting of like New York crime gangs. And it also depressingly represents the reality of the United States better than maybe better than any anime I have ever seen. Uh so that is honestly depressing as an American, but also it's like really good. So there's kind of a conflict I have there. But this anime was just incredible. Um, if you have not seen Banana Fish or you were turned off by the idea of the weirdness, uh I encourage you, since I was the same way at first, push past it because underneath you have absolutely fantastic anime that I would highly recommend. And yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.